Set course for Skymoot, which is here. One jump away. Boom. Great. Let's go check out some dragons. Oh, a book. The lady starts triangulating to find the next pylon again and brings you to a tall mountain where some of the local dragons appear to have made some form of nest or breeding ground. You do your best to avoid them as you fly around the mountain, and the lady continues to send signals to find the pylon. Inside the mountain it could be. From there the counter signals are coming. She stops for a few minutes and looks at the view of the mountain on your monitor. She tries again and asks you to get closer. When you're finishing yet another lap, she asks you to stop your ship, keeping it steady in the air. Zoom your cameras here, could you, Captain? She asks, pointing to the middle of the monitor. You zoom in and see a circle of large rocks surrounded by dragon's nests. Atop the rocks are some patches of foliage, and in the middle lies a small, dark, tower-like structure, stuck in the rocks by one end. After looking at it for a few seconds, you both realize it's an upside-down pylon. Taken in as some form of token the dragons must have. Hopes of retrieving some of the pylons physically I had, but prefer to dig out the glacier for the previous one than test my luck against dragons. I do. Unlock this one's data remotely, I will. A dragon perches on your ship. A dragon perches on your ship as she begins to transfer. It tries to bite down on one of the engines, but you start moving your ship again to shake it off. You avoid the other dragons as they fly by your ship until the download is complete and head straight for the spaceport city. Once your ship is safely landed at the hangars, the lady plays the audio log. Log started. Scoured the planet with our searches we have, but no trace of the previously visited ruins or any other sign of the group that lived here we found. Assured me that all our ship's navigation systems are working properly. The engineers have, but at the coordinates where they should be, the ruins are not. As if they have never been there. A confusing disappointment this was, but continue with the mission we must. Heading far north to Summit we are, the last point before regrouping with the split group it would be. As the recording ends, the lady looks at you confused. An intelligent species once lived on this planet. What findings Mimodum would have on them, I wondered, but found nothing he did. Simply vanish out of nowhere ruins cannot. Let's see here. How do you know about that species? Found ruins millennia ago. The first Saurids to come to the outside did. Recovered some artifacts. They also had complex tools such as very large personal propelling devices with dedicated storage space. Kept in some museums back in Saros they are. Did they ever find any member of that species? Let's see here. Nope. Stock primarily provisions, those first expeditions were prepared to take on proper archaeological study on this planet. They were not. Asked the Quarg about the findings the Saurids had, but to their surprise they acted as if there was nothing here. For the time, very odd of them to do that, it was. She turns to you with a curious look. What about humanity, Captain? Found any clues about the species that lived here, have you? No. Didn't even know there were ruins here. She frowned slightly. Figured as much I had. Well, finding out more about them, the point of this expedition wasn't. A nice bonus it would have been, but prepared to look for the next pylon we should. You open your map and use the coordinates, gather that Summit is Watcher, a small moon close to the entrance to the deep. The lady returns to her bunk, and blah blah blah. So we're not gonna do this yet. We're not gonna do this yet. I wanna be very, very sure that we've got. That's gonna be an awesome thing. Just like riding dragons, it's gonna be like people probably getting like limbs being ripped off and stuff. It's gonna be great. I'm ready to do it. Target there. You fly around the moon as the lady nails down the coordinates of the pylon until you land close to one of the forests. Deeper inside the pylon must be. Uninhabited by humans, this world is correct. You confirm this, and she prepares to leave. No dragons to worry about here, they are. So try to bring this pylon back with us, I will. You two leave your ship and enter the forest, taking turns carrying the pylon you brought, which is easy enough to do since the gravity is so much lower here. Occasionally she stops and has the pylon put down so she can determine where to go next. Eventually, you notice the trees start getting smaller as you move on until you reach a wide, odd clearing where the ground is devoid of any local flora. She spots the other pylon on the opposite side, half stuck in the ground, and moves to pull it out. As you follow her to the machine, you notice deep, perfectly straight holes in the ground, forming lines that sometimes cross the entire clearing and continue well past it. Soil and dust have filled up most of them, but in certain gaps you can look down to the cracks that must be dozens of meters deep. She ties a rope around the ends of the pylon that's visible and pulls it, forcing up the dirt as she brings the rest of the device to the surface. She connects it to the pylon you brought and access to the data from there. Much more active here the expedition was. 3 recordings there are. Bring these back to your ship we should. Listen to the first one there we can. Both of you carrying a pylon, you make your way out of the forest. Why is it just me? I have this whole crew. Both of you carrying a pylon, you make your way out of the forest and back to your ship, where she immediately plays the oldest entry. Log started. Send 2 Punishers further north I did, but return yet they have not. As for the Crimson Anomaly, on the nearby western system, still unresponsive it is. Be it a finisher barrage or attempting to ram it, no reaction from the anomaly there was. That's going into remnant space. A simple nebula, the researchers claim it is not. Think that we are missing something, they do. Wait a few more days for the Punishers to return, I will. In the meantime, back to that system I will go. Maybe learn something about the anomaly we can. After Momodum's voice has disappeared, she urges you to take off. Heard of this anomaly before, I had not. Look for the system in at once we must. Hopefully still there after centuries it is. Oh, it sure is. Where are we going? You mean this one? In Terminus that leads to the Remnant? She fiddles with the pylon you recover from the Watcher. And theoretically, I guess you didn't have to do any of the Remnant stuff before visiting the Coalition, so. She fiddles with the pylon you recover from the Watcher and lets a second recorded log while she gazes out to see the Crimson Anomaly that dude mentioned. Try just about everything now we have. A finisher barrage, bombardment from afar, driving asteroids through it, even activating our jump drives while immersed in the red cloud. Told me that it shows some sign of rotation the chief researchers has. Tried to show me the axis around which spins she did. Whatever the case, find anything worthwhile about the cloud we could not. Returning to Summit now we are, and from there to regroup with the fleet. The recording ends, but she continues to look at the cloud for a few minutes in silence. Something wrong? No. Just take it into view. Unlike any phenomenon from what the Coalition this is. It's funny, I could just be like, oh, I know where this goes. She moves back. Oh, wait, do I even have a... I don't even know if I have a quantum keystone on here. She moves back to the pylon and hesitates for a moment. Back to Summit, Momodum said they would go. Better understand his next steps we would. If listen to the last entry on that clearing where we found this, we did, she says, tapping the pylon. You try to go back to Watchers. We'll go back to Watchers soon. She heads back to her bunk. Where are we going? Where? I did that. No, I don't want to do that yet. You land next to the forest again and venture into it once more. The trail fresh in your memory, you two reach the clearing quickly, where the lady puts the pylon close to where it was before being dug out. Almost like we were there with them, this should be. Being right where they left the pylon. Hopefully a better understanding of what they were thinking it will also provide. She starts the recording and sharp static beeps are the first thing you hear. After a moment, you can make out agitated voices. As if the crew was discussing something, but the lady's translator didn't pick it up. Finally, the familiar voice of Momodum comes out. Destroyed the rest of the fleet was. Made it back to the system. One of the Punishers that headed north must have. Ran into some debris pieces floating about in the system we did. Take off. The rest of those summoned couldn't. The ground is static returns this time, including some scratch-like stops. Cut like clay. Rock. Molten. It switches to static once again and stops for a moment. When it's back, the interference noises are gone. Met with the split group I must. Warn them of what happened and head back to home with them I will. You two look at the pylon in silence for a while, then she slowly approaches the machine to pick it up, saying, supposed to head back home immediately expeditions were, if destroyed one of the Punishers was. If followed those orders he had, no guarantee the split group's survival he had. If back home they went. He could have, but then the other group, well, that's kind of strange because they have, why couldn't they just communicate through hyperspace? Not that one. We don't want to do that one. We don't know if he could have made it out if he'd gone back immediately. I'm sure we'll find out with the next pylon. Let's do that. Back to the ship we should go. Try and figure out where Momodum went next, I will. Where he was to meet with the split group. After taking the trail back, she goes into her bunk to tinker with the pylons. She comes out several hours after nightfall, asking that you show her your map. A pincer movement the two groups were performing. Difficult to know exact planet it is, as the data from the split group were we don't have. But figured the overall region between the two groups would link up, I think I have. You help her match the coordinates and end up with a group of systems between Sol... Oh, wow. Sol and Tyrazed? That's like so many systems. Pick up faint signals of... Well, on the right system I can, but no way of knowing. Great. All right. So we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. So here's Tyrazed, and here's Sol. Where's Sol? Right there. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. So why don't we start in Sol? Actually, we're going to have to land here anyway. There's a lot of systems. Spaceport, nothing happening. Bye. Actually, you know what? I should just pick up a I should just pick up like a human outfit scanner just to like try to do that mission. This smooth scrolling so much. So it needs an outfit scanner, and I have plenty of space. I needed an outfit scanner. I'll just buy one. Okay. Okay, it did mark all these systems. All right, it's not like, not that many. Okay. It's a lot. Okay. She has the pylon start searching for any matching signals as soon as you jump into the system. A few hours pass and the machine doesn't return any coordinates, but it also doesn't report a failure. She looks at it, puzzled, and reboots it. Fly around the system for a while, could you? Maybe compromising the signal the ship's current position is. You do as suggest, slowly cruise around for a few more hours. Once again, the pylon doesn't give any answer. She says it might be some oddly specific bug and asks you just move on to the next system. Will do. Pilot is quick to answer in this system, reporting no similar signals. Time to move on to the next system. She lets her pilot work for about an hour, but it returns no sign of any others in the system. Passed by here they might have, but a priority for recon that world was not. She says as she points at Rand. You tell her you'll move on to the next system soon. She goes back to working on the pylon. Nothing here. Okay. If correct, my estimates were the most likely meeting point this should be. She says as you jump into the system. She lets the pylon work for a while, but it returns no signal of a similar device. Well, either estimated wrong I have, or issues in the meeting here the groups had. Checking the next system we should. Let's just land up here and fuel. This is like one more system, right? After a couple minutes, the pylon emits a few quick whistles and suggests that, oh, that planet it is. I'm glad it's the last one. Glad we're managed to locate it, I am. You tell her to land on Hopper soon. Great. Unbelievable. It's the last planet. It always is the last one. Fly around Hopper as the lady searches for the pylon's exact position in hopes she could bring it back as well. She tells you to land by a mountain range and has you readjust your landing spot every so often as she tries to nail the exact location of the pylon. Buried it to protect it from the atmosphere's acidity they must have. By the time she's done, you open your ship's hatch right to where the pylon should be and help her dig it out, taking care to not be out for too long. When the device is dug out, you bring it into your ship whilst the lady fills up the hole with the dirt that's been dug out. As you're flying into the spaceport, she plays the pylon's entry. Log started. Made a route from Summit straight to the meeting point I had, but find the split group I cannot. Restless, agitated the crew has become. Headed straight to the Alblub we are, after buried this thing is. If find this, anyone from the split group is, head back. At that point, an untranslated shouting muffles what Mimidum was saying, followed by dozens of legs in a rush. No, is heard right before the recording ends. You focus on flying the ship, but even when you landed it, she remains silent. Which one? Oh, I'll be like, are you alright? She goes without saying a word for a while. Still, set a route for a blub, could you, Captain? If follow the same route they used, we do. And if anything more to find, pick up the signals, we will. Alright, a blub, we go. Going to a blob. Should follow the same trajectory, right? Oh, here we go. While the lady remained in her bunk since you left, you can hear her shouting from the bunk as you enter the system. She comes running to you, bringing up the pylon, picked up a signal it has. She says, pointing at the machine's panel, where some message is repeatedly beeping out. Land on the planet. We must, Captain. You tell her to land soon, and let's do this. I guess we're landing on this planet. We're going to figure out what's going on. Okay. Once you're close to the planet's surface, she starts trying to access the recorded data in the pylon. If possible, recover it later we can. She tries for a few minutes, but all she can get is a twisted static. So she starts working on determining its location. Clear up the transmission, getting closer to it should. You fly around until you're right above an ocean, with no land in sight wherever you look. Below us it is. Why underwater? Why throw it into an ocean, would they? She works on transferring the data to her own pylon, as you won't manage to get the original one, and clears up the recording as much as possible before playing it. For a few seconds, there are only a few ambient sounds, a low background humming, and some heavy breathing. Great. Ambushed us as we prepared to leave the last planet they did, Momodum speaks. Enough fuel to make it back in one go we had, so jumped as we could. Too many ships in this system there were, however, like a wall blocking us. He stops briefly, and you can make out something akin to metal falling lightly on a table. Aware of it they were. That exploring we had been. That splitting up we were. That make it back we could not. Saw to that dozens of their ships did. Tried to lose them on this planet we had. But caught as we came down we were. Cut off most of his engines, Skylance fire. Ooh, here we go. Cut off most of the engines Skylance fire has. A lone sinking ship what remains of the sixth is. Hold together the hull should, but no way out for us there is. He pauses once again for well over a minute. If returned when the men first asked, no, even then, already waiting their ships must have been. If split up the fleet I hadn't, outnumbered all the same, we would be. At least, another pause, this time just for a few seconds, at least still working the rifles are. The recording ends, and you two stay in awkward silence for a minute. Aware that he had died, I was. Too long it has been, even if found a safe haven, habitable planet, or a friendly group the fleet had. I knew that long dead all of them would be. She paused. And the silence returns for another minute. She shuts off the pylon, only expecting something, anything I was. A heroic death, a summary of findings. Accomplished nothing they did. Right after all the councils were. Heroic death or not, he still got some information, didn't he? Information you recovered. Yeah. Inconclusive reports on red nebulas or disappearing ruins. What good are they? After met-up and pincer movement the groups had, after exploring the ports of interest supposed to drive further than we've ever had previously, they were. To reach the galactic core, to maybe find friendly groups to facilitate more trips, achieve none of the goals were. She goes back to her bunk, saying she wishes to be alone for a while. And you fly to the planet spaceport. After a few hours she comes back, finish my report I have, ready to go back home I am, Captain Schatz. A long trip this was, and promised to pay you well I did. So when the ring of friendship we reach, I will give you a well-earned 10 million credits. Good. Present my findings to the council. Aren't you worried we'll get ambushed? She grins. If going to ambush us, the Quarg were they already done it, they would have. Too close to coalition by now we are. She asks you to bring the ring of friendship as soon as possible. Okay, let's do that. This is the ring of wisdom, and this is the ring of friendship. So we're going to do that. Yeah. Sure. I might as well land here real quick. So we did not get that special scanner thing yet. Let's see what's going on at the spaceport. Nothing. So let's go to the Ring of Friendship. Whoops. Yeah, sure. It's like, why would it choose the closest thing? Okay, here we go. She uses your comlink to tell the spaceport authorities she's returned, and soon after you land, a crowd of Heliarchs and Coalition civilians alike are surrounding your ship. The Heliarch agents try and organize the crowd as best as they can, and a group of Heliarch consuls rush through the masses to meet you two at the ship. Inspector, a most fortunate return this is. A great deal of information you've collected we take it, an Iraq council asks. Yes, eager to hear your report we are. One of the Kimek consuls continues. A rare occasion it is to be able to learn of the outside from one of our esteemed inspectors. A soured counsel who's kept a stern look at his face cuts in. Returned with his fleet your ancestor Ramona did not. Learned of the reason for that, have you? Yes, she says. Recovered as much information as I wished. I could not. But prepared a report on what Captain Schatz and I found I have. Additionally, recovered 2 of the pylons when modem left we have. One of the consuls addresses you. Tell us, Captain. Run into any complications during the trip, have you? Maybe occasioned by the Tribune? The inspector being with you? She stayed inside the ship whenever there's a risk of humans seeing her, if that's what you're asking. They call for some agents to get the pylon on your ship and transport them to somewhere where she can present her findings. As they tell her to follow them to the room where the presentations will happen. A Kimek Heliarch breaks through the line of agents, keeping the crowd back. You recognize him as Arbiter Kachari, who you just met before she received approval from the Heliarch Council. What is this? The soured council steps in front of Karachi as he approaches. Arbiter shared with you in due time the findings will be, but the inspector's report to us consuls the priority is, so return your duties you. No. Met with her family she will. The dude interrupts him. Heard nothing but hell from her brother I have. Devastated her parents were. Now that return she has, see them and calm their worries she will. By whose orders an Iraq council jumps in. Intrigued by her findings we all are, and listen to her once we must. Orders? The dude explains. Orders for her to leave and die you thought you had given her. Kachari looks at said lot, whatever her name is, then back at the consuls. If so intrigued you are, surely to miss out on any information you don't want. Best suited for giving a full report she will be, once rested from her expedition she has. Irked by his response, the consuls have agents clear the area and have your ship made into a makeshift meeting room for a while, making everyone get out while they head inside to discuss. After many minutes, they come back out, and one of the chemics says, 10 days of leave you will be given, Tribune. After that, present us your findings you must. Considered for a promotion to Arbiter, you also will be for your bravery and work in the expedition. The consul group leaves, and Kachari approaches you and the lady. Tell me about how you were right all along later you can. Right now, add you back to the list of active heliarchs I must. Marked as deceased by a glitch in the system, you apparently were. He taps one leg on the ground, repeatedly glancing at your ship. Glad you are back safely, I am. He leaves us well, and the lady turns to you, a bit disorganized, but at least welcome we were, right? She looks at your ship and then looks startled. Your payment. No time to transfer the funds to you they gave me. She pulls out a personal device and transfer 10 million credits. There you are, worth much more your system was, but unfortunately limited my funds are. Why was everyone so surprised we made it back? Her smile drops as you ask the question, and she seemingly struggles to find a place to look at. Captain. She looks around, then takes a deep breath. Sorry, I am, Captain. Ever since independence from the Quarg we gained, 6 expeditions out of the coalition there were. Return only ships of the first of them did. The most well-equipped and numerous my ancestors' fleet was, the 6th Expeditionary Fleet. Increasingly more fearful of leaving we became, and with the last expedition having been centuries ago a taboo, even talking about leaving has become. A year after the 6 had left, effectively forbid any further expeditions the Council did. She travels around with her eyes again. Sorry I am that I kept it hidden from you, I have. Wish to find out what happened, I did. Afraid that I was, that refused to help me like everyone else would. If you know the risk you did. Well, made it back safely and you're passionate enough, so whatever, it's fine. She breathes in relief. Thank you, Captain. To trick you, my intention was not. Thanks to your help, maybe put an end to this fear of leaving, or even convince the Council to get an expedition efforts going again. Except humanity already took over all those planets. Suddenly, a Saurid sojourner nearly rams your ship, just barely avoiding as lands less than 20 meters from your ship. My little brother, she says, as she looks at the ship. Forgive me, Captain, but get to seeing my family I must. From the discussion earlier, very worried about me they must have been. Thanks again for everything. Her brother rushes into hugging her as she leaves the ship, then proceeds to shake her while screaming something. An elderly Saurid couple slowly comes out of the sojourner's well, and the lady and her brother go and meet them, hugging and going inside. The ship takes off before the spaceport workers can even begin tending to the ship, and you look at it as it leaves the ring world. When you go back inside your ship, you're notified that more credits have been transferred into your account, and seems to be from the Heliar government giving you an extra 25 million credits, and thank you for help covering the data of the 6th expedition. See? Boom. Did my good deed. Spaceport. Nothing happening. Good. This is where we're going to end. I think we did a lot of good stuff. We're getting deep into more coalition lore, helping the Heliarchs, which I really don't want to do. I want to get to the other side, which I have not found just yet. So where do I have to go to trigger the mission chain to get me into the other graces of the anti-Heliarchs, whatever they're called? We're going to find in the next one? I don't know. We'll see. But I do know that we're going to have to come up to here and do this mission up here, because it's going to be very fun. I already know it. I already know it's going to be a world of fun. We're going to go with that dude. What's his name? What's this dude's name? Karango. We're doing it. We're doing it next time, I hope. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me some feedback. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.